Now, it's no surprise that the Nintendo Switch only comes with 32 gig out of the box. Actually, you're not even getting the full 32 gig out of the box when you get your Nintendo Switch. You're actually only getting somewhere in the ballpark of 25 gig, and 25 gig is not a lot of storage at all. And I've kind of already talked about this, but the upcoming NBA 2K18 will require a micro SD card if you're thinking about picking it up digitally, or if you're thinking about picking up the game on day one, because that game is only coming out digital on day one. You'll have to wait a month later if you want the physical version of NBA 2K18. And if you didn't know, NBA 2K18 is one of the Switch games digitally that will take up more memory than your Nintendo Switch has built in. It'll be more than 25 gig. So right out of the gate, you are going to be required to have a micro SD card. But what I wasn't aware of, even if you're buying the physical version of NBA 2K18, you're still going to need a micro SD card. Now, you can actually play a lot of the game without a micro SD card, but you'll be missing some modes and features that aren't going to be available on the physical cartridge unless you buy a micro SD card. And Nintendo has made a statement also saying that some other games coming out in the near future will actually require a micro SD card, even if you go physical on them. And here's what Nintendo officially has to say about it. If you purchase a physical version of a game that requires an additional micro SD card memory, you will be able to play a portion of the game right out of the box, for example, some modes and levels, a representative at Nintendo said. To enjoy the full game, downloading additional data is required, depending on the storage requirements for each game. It may be necessary to purchase a micro SD card to expand storage space. When purchasing a digital version of the game, it may also be necessary to purchase a micro SD card depending on the game's storage requirements and the storage available on the consumer's Nintendo Switch. This is no surprise. We already knew that the Nintendo Switch came with really bad memory, but for $2.99 I thought Nintendo would at least give us more. But again, you can't really say Nintendo is trying to like mess us up or mess over the consumers and things like that. Why? Because I think if Nintendo were to give us more than 32 gig of internal built-on memory, Nintendo would be taking a loss on the Nintendo Switch. And if you didn't know, right now Nintendo is barely making any money on the Nintendo Switches when you buy them. I think they're only making literally a couple bucks to 10 bucks on them, so they're not doing great when it comes to sales. So they're still making a profit, but they're not making a great profit. And if Nintendo was to put more storage internally on the Nintendo Switch, it would have bumped up the price of the Switch. And I don't think nobody wants to pay over $2.99 for the Switch, and Nintendo definitely doesn't want to take a loss on the Nintendo Switch. What company wants to take a loss on their product? I don't think any company, not just Nintendo. I think no company who's making products don't want to make a loss, because let's face it, Nintendo would be out of business if they took a loss on every Nintendo Switch. So that's why they put the micro SD card there. I know it kind of sucks that you are forced to buy a micro SD card for some games. It does kind of really suck, but hey, at least the good news is on this whole thing is the fact that they didn't go proprietary like Sony. If you didn't know, Sony went proprietary on the PSP Portable and the PS Vita Portable, and that really messed up because those memory cards are so freaking expensive. $99 would only get you 64 gig. And if honestly, also going back to the whole memory card thing on Switch, if you're thinking about picking up a micro SD card for the Switch, then definitely go with 64 and above. You shouldn't even be messing with 8, 16 gig, 32 gig. You should at least start with 64. Heck, you should probably at least go with 128. Forget 64, because 128 is not even that expensive. I think you can get them, I think I seen one on Amazon for like $44 for the 128 gig micro SD card for the Switch. Now, also, a lot of people probably already have a micro SD card, because as we know, when we knew the Switch was coming out, we knew there was only going to be one variant of the Nintendo Switch. We knew it was going to be 32 gig, and 32 gig is not enough. Honestly, it also makes me wonder how come these games can't fit on a physical cartridge. I want to know the storage size of the physical cartridge. But then again, if you didn't know this, it's actually not a rumor, but it's actually a thing that the new upcoming third-party game from Rockstar, L.A. Noire, coming to the Nintendo Switch is going to be $10 more than the rest of the versions. I think the other versions will be $30, I want to say, and then the Switch will be $40, or it could be $40 and then $50, but either way, it's going to be $10 more than the competition if you're thinking about buying L.A. Noire on the Nintendo Switch. And that also makes me wonder, how expensive are these are these cartridges Nintendo's making for the Nintendo Switch. I think I heard somewhere on the internet that it's actually much more expensive to make a Nintendo Switch physical cart compared to putting it on a disc, on a Blu-ray disc or a CD and things like that. It's much more expensive. So that could be the why maybe NBA 2K18 and some other games coming out in the near future are using pretty small physical media, and then they're gonna make you use a micro SD card just to save the price of the physical media, because the physical cartridges may be kind of expensive for the actual company to make, and they don't want to buy a big one and put the full game on the physical media when it could cost them a lot of money. But for the consumer, it kind of sucks. You think you're gonna go buy a physical game for the Nintendo Switch and you're gonna have the full game on that cartridge, but nope, you're not. On some games, you're gonna need a micro SD card. Again, I want to make this clear as well. At least they're cheap and they're not too expensive. I'm pretty sure, I think I've seen again on Amazon, $44 gets you a 128 gig micro SD card. So that is the good news here. But you should probably already have a micro SD card here, because if you're also buying indie games and some digital games and things like that, of course, we already know that the internal memory of the Switch is only going to be 25 gig. Anyway, that's pretty much the news for Nintendo. Anyway, guys, peace out. I'll see you guys later in my next video. I'm out, guys.